Well, the United States has long sold itself as the land of opportunity for international students, but that dream may now be getting a lot harder to achieve. The Trump administration has proposed sweeping changes to F1 student visa rules that could significantly impact over 3.6 lakh Indian students, the largest student community in America. Under the proposed changes, F1 visas would no longer allow open-ended stays. Instead, students would be admitted for a fixed 4-year period. The post-study grace period would be cut from 60 days to just 30 days. Students enrolled in English language programs would face a maximum stay of 24 months, while undergraduate and graduate students would no longer be allowed to change their academic programs after enrollment. For Indian students, this means less flexibility, tighter timelines, and greater uncertainty when planning higher education and careers in the United States. But the impact won't stop there. International students contribute billions of dollars every year to the US economy through tuition fees, housing, travel, and local spending. They also form a critical talent pipeline for American universities, research labs, and technology companies. If visa rules become more restrictive, many students may instead choose countries like Canada, Australia, the United Kingdom, or Germany. The result? Well, America could tighten immigration, but it also risks losing global talent, research excellence, and billions in economic contribution, while competitors stand to benefit. We'll talk about this with our guest. Joining us on the program is Ambassador Suresh Goyal, former diplomat. Dr. Sharat Kohli, senior economist, is also with us on the program. Mr. Surinder Singh Lali, foreign affairs expert, joins us on the show. And Mr. Digambar Islampur, community organizer, who's joining us live from the United States at this point in time as well. Ambassador Goyal, I'll begin with you, sir. Well, you know, I've studied in the United States. I had the F1 visa, and I know even back then it was not easy to get this visa, and the paperwork and the rules have always been extremely difficult and, you know, more or less tough to bypass. For the lack of a better word. What is Donald Trump trying to do over here? He's obviously not concerned about the billions of dollars that, this kind of an ecosystem produces with the Indian students going in the United States and studying. Why do you think this is being done? Is this some sort of cleansing, that he's doing here? It's something that he promised when he was promoting himself as president when Biden was around.
Good afternoon, good evening, Vineet. Difficult question about what Trump has in mind. I've not traveled to the USA for the last several years, particularly not during the time when Trump was the president. There are two gentlemen here, I think, who are more familiar with how Trump functions. And if they get any idea as to what Trump has in mind, I will really ask them to share with us. I'm quite sure that it will be very, very illuminating and elucidating to understand how Trump thinks. Frankly speaking, personally, like you, my sons also studied in the USA. And we had no, it was a detailed process, very immaculate, all documentation had to be done, but there was no problem in terms of getting the visa, maybe because they were on the diplomatic passport, but otherwise also the documentation was immaculate. They had to pay the fees for the F1B visa. But the good thing was, that F1B visa came 4+1, and therefore after finishing their undergrad, if they required one more year to, really mostly searching for a job, getting practical hands-on experience, etc., they had that 1 year before they could change over to an H1B visa to stay on in the country. If they were working somewhere, otherwise they would come back. So all that was properly regulated, and I didn't see any wrongdoing anywhere that at all. Trump, I find, he is essentially, his MAGA policies have now become an anti-immigration policy. And that anti-immigration started from the southern borders, Mexico, etc. Now there is more or less like a paranoia about, even though the same immigrants from at least India, I can talk about, they do really contribute tremendously to the American system. If just today there was a news that Raghuram Rajan Chetty, etc., 3 people have been appointed to the top job in the federal by Walsh. So they are respected. At the same time, they are not wanted. There is a lot of confusion there. Uh, the universities will be losing a lot of money, as you said, but I don't think that is either here or there for Trump. It doesn't matter for him really. After all, even if increasing the tariff to 100%, 500%, ruins the economy. Putting putting the barricade on Hormuz has increased the price of the gasoline again. So I don't think Trump is bothered about the economy as such. He has this paranoia about how to make America great again, and he thinks that the immigrants are ruining the USA. Uh, Having said that, I think the greatest impact of the new immigration policies is going to be really on the students because they have to leave immediately after completing their undergrad, leaving no opportunities to explore opportunities. Journalists will have difficulties, but I don't think they will find it very difficult really, because after all, the visa is going to be extendable. But the students are going to really face enormous difficulties with the new rules. Vineet.
Dr. Kohli, your point of view on this? Earlier it was, the techies, who took this jolt from Donald Trump, and now it is the students. Why do you think Donald Trump is doing this? And isn't this bad, detrimental for the American economy as well, for the universities over there?
Good evening, Vineet, to you, my respected fellow panelists and the viewers. I think from MAGA, things are going towards MAPA. You know what MAPA is? Make America poor again. Because he keeps talking of deals, he keeps talking of taking the toll in the form of investments from the Middle East countries. Well, it's all about money, honey, as far as President Trump is concerned. But what surprises me, because there was money here as well. And there was money in two ways. One, the students were spending billions of dollars on the universities. Of course, they were going to universities, and universities somewhere had a role to play in developing the American economy. And more importantly, what America is today, I have two respected panelists who are sitting in, and Mr. Lali is a very, very experienced, person from there, so is Digambar. I mean, if America is made up today, it's been made up out of the talent which came from abroad. And India has a major, major role to play. I say that with my humble apologies, if you take Indians or Indian origin people, Mr. Lali will correct me for that, if we take out Indian and Indian origin people from America for a moment, hypothetically speaking, that's not going to happen. But if you pull them out all at one lot, all of a sudden, by magical powers, I can guarantee you America will come to a standstill. I would invite Mr. Lali's comment when he speaks on this particular aspect. It will make America, it will just stop functioning as far as the country is concerned. The medical system, the tech system, the startups, everything is going to come to a standstill. That's my point one. Now, you come from the world of journalism, Vineet. Restricting the journalist, what does that say, first of all? Because he doesn't want difficult questions to be asked to him. He doesn't want journalists to be present there and questioning him. He wants journalists, if a journalist asks him a question, he gets up and goes. It happened a few weeks ago. You must have seen the interview he was giving, where he was asked some difficult question. He simply gets up, uses some, diplomatic word and gets up. So restricting the journalist to Chinese to 90 days, others to 240, I think a journalist needs just 1 day. So 90 days for Chinese is not going to make any difference. 240 days for others are not going to make any difference. And I think he's forgotten that today technology is such. If you stop people asking questions, it's one small world in the virtual world right now. So what is happening in America, unfortunately, doesn't remain in America. It goes across the world. This is not Vegas. What happens in Vegas remains in Vegas is a very old saying now. That was before the technology came. What happens in Vegas and America reaches far beyond that territory than what is known there. So I think the whole world today knows. Ambassador Goel said that it's very difficult to understand Trump. I respect what he said. But for me, it's very easy to understand Trump. I think starting from the time it took over in January 2025, until now, I think the whole world understands Trump in a different way. What Ambassador Goyal is saying is very respectful, and I respect that. But for me, as an economist, it's very easy to understand Trump. You say something in the morning, in the afternoon, you forget about it. You levy 20% tax on the ships passing the next morning. No, it's not fair to levy taxes on the ships. It'll be better off to make investments. The statements he gives, the flip-flop he does. And, why I'm surprised is with regard to universities, what I said. Because this would have brought dollars. He is only interested in bringing dollars into America. And this was bringing dollars. So to restrict them is going to work the other way around. To restrict journalists, this is going to backfire. You come from the world of journalists. Tell me, is this not going to backfire? Because those journalists will now be more instigated to write against him and his policies. Because they will not hesitate in writing. Because if you're trying to stop them, not to allow them to stay in America and do genuine reporting, is probably having an authoritarian kind of a policy where you don't want to talk to journalists. You don't want foreign journalists to be asking you difficult questions. He only wants journalists who are yes men, who only agree to what he's saying and who only endorse his policies. So very strange. But then with President Trump, I now find nothing strange. I mean, the word strange has disappeared from my dictionary because it's President Trump. Anything coming from him is not strange. We are talking about it, but for me, it's not strange. Vinny.
You're quite right, Dr. Kohli. Mr. Lali, I know you've been itching to speak. I can see the excitement in your eyes whenever there is a topic of your interest, and today is one of those days. I think. How do you interpret what is going on, sir? Poor students, who look for a better system, a more rewarding system, the American dream, are going to be turned away for no fault of theirs. What kind of retribution is Donald Trump seeking here? What's going on in his head?
Vineet, you don't cut your note to spite your face. And one way to describe Donald J. Trump is attribution. If you see all his press conferences, including the address to the nation, which he made a few hours ago, he's still in election mode. He still hasn't been able to decouple himself from Barack Obama and Joe Biden. Vineet, the problem is, as Ambassador Saab said, that reading Trump's mind. I mean, that gentleman is a mercurial individual. And there is enough clamor in the US where they're saying that we have to plead the 25th Amendment because he's not in the right state of mind. As Dr. Kohli said, he can go and put almost 100 posts in one night at Truth Social, and some of them are not just blasphemous, but war crimes and against civilization. He wants to, at one night, do away with a country called Iran, and the next day he's throwing metabolic waste on people who ask him tough questions, or, he's been painting Michelle and Barack Obama as monkeys. I mean, these are things that you do not even indulge in the United States or even in any civilized economy over a conversation in a bar, no matter how many drinks you are down. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the most powerful man in the world who has his hand on the nuclear code, with a $30 trillion economy. And look what he's doing. I mean, to me, he has lost the plot. Because he stood for certain issues and all of them have backfired. He said we will not go for any war. He lambasted the Democrats for that, who he calls Democrats. Now that is very disrespectful to a credible opposition, but that's Donald Trump. And look, he started wars which he's not able to finish. He wanted to finish the Ukraine war. And I quote him, while he'd be driven, from his house to the White House after the oath. And that war, is anything, has gotten worse. NATO's all divided all over the place. The GCC countries are like headless chickens, opened overnight. They don't know the protection money in petrodollar that they paid to America. Suddenly everything went to the state of Israel, and having an American base out of the 800 bases that they have across the world is now a big liability, especially in the GCC countries. Affordability, he's failed. Tariffs, he's failed. Corruption, he's been pardoning his rich friends. And I think, one doesn't need to be a rocket scientist to know that before he demits office, he's going to pardon himself too. His case got thrown out, where he said the IRS cannot prosecute him. And he's probably one of the only sitting heads of state who sold his own government for $10 billion. I mean, beat that. You're on this side of the fence, you're that side of the fence. Now, why is he doing it? Now, that's a billion-dollar question. I think since he's lost the plot, he's going back to his MAGA supporters. And he wants to now capture the imagination which he did initially, which is making a white, waspy, Anglo-Saxon, Christian America. So for them, you could be a PhD, you could be from JNU, you could be from IIT, you could be Khosla, Dham, or you name it. He doesn't care. He has started demonizing everybody who's dark-skinned. He doesn't even know that the militia he's created called ICE just killed 2 people just day before yesterday. Point blank, on the face. And then ICE says that, we were not here for them people. So he's demonizing foreigners, and there are over 330,000 Indian students in the United States. I mean, some of them sold their land and mother's jewelry to get there. But Vineet, in the same breath, I said that that's his prerogative, it's his country, it's his prerogative, it's his monkey, it's his circus. But now I'm going to get to Dr. Kohli's point. He made a fantastic point. Hypothetically, God forbid, if we were to take the Indians out of the United States, Vineet, in the top 10 companies in the world today, 8 are technology-based. So try and imagine Apple minus Indians, NVIDIA minus Indians, Microsoft minus Indians, Amazon minus Indians, Google minus Indians. I mean, Dr. Kohli, there will be cars parked on the street because the tolls would fail. There would be, airlines wouldn't take off because we are the soft power. Out of all the STEM graduates in America and PhD, 50% of them are foreigners. So what he's doing is, in order to try and win, which seems unlikely, the midterm, which is coming in November, he's indulging in anything, even if it comes at the cost of ruining America. America was smart. After the First World War, they realized that brick and mortar business is not our game. So they sublet that to China. And in the process, through R&D, they created technology and intellectual property right. I mean, Americans make money without even a tangible product. If you look at the top 10 companies in the world, Netflix, they don't even have a tangible product which you can put in a warehouse. I mean, Uber, they don't own one taxi, or any technology-based firm for that matter. But Donald Trump has lost the plot, and unfortunately, he is taking America into a big hole. As we say in America, that when you're in a hole, you stop digging. But this gentleman is digging even deeper. Now he wants to get into gerrymandering and getting the voters list, because he knows that he's lost from one end. The other end he can control is now through ICE and through animating, through making people more unhappy with brown people, only because that's the only MAGA support base who is left with. And believe me, these MAGA supporters, most of them, you can't even have a civilized conversation because they only think through the prism of the color of your skin. I mean, I wear a turban, and there are times they think they don't even know what India is. They sometimes call me an Iranian, they sometimes call me some turban hat or camel jockey. They don't even know that, I'm from the 4th largest religion in the world, which itself has added so much of wealth in California and in Yuba City. And we in Indians are some of the most wealthiest people. We need one last point. As Dr. Kohli rightly said, 38% of the CEOs in America are Indians. 1.5 billion in charity, 3 billion donations we Indians give back to the university, to the endowment fund. Out of every 50 campus leaders, 35 are Indian. I was also part of the first non-white to be elected as an ISA president, International Student Association. And by virtue of that, I was also on the campus leader. So out of 40,000 people, I was in the top most known 7 faces. But what is Donald Trump doing? He is shooing everybody out only because he can do enough corruption through Jared Kushner and through his cronies, play the markets in the Iran war. As long as he makes money, America can go down into a hole beneath.
All right. Mr. Islampur, how are you looking at this? Is Donald Trump only going to stop at Indians, or do you think he's going to go after everyone?
Yeah.
So thank you, Vinit, first of all, inviting, and thanks a lot for all the esteemed guests. They spoke very well before me. I think I agree most of their points. But here are a couple of things, as you mentioned. How do I look at it? Is he only after Indians, or is he going to after everybody? So I see that like most of us, we are looking at Trump as a problem, as if I give the very much I agree with all the statements, like he's a mercurial, whimsical at times, the flip flopping of the statements. There is no doubt about it, but there is a support base that is what he's representing is a support base, and there is a certain section of demography or people who want this kind of action, and that we have to live with. And then, as Sharad Kohli mentioned, I agree. If we some magical van, we take all the Indians out, a lot of companies will suffer. But we have to make a distinction. A lot of these Americans made already America as their home. So I think with all intent and purposes, they are Indians at heart, or at times culturally. But I think they made America as their home. We should not be expecting anything from, because they are already citizens and they are already green card holders. They are in the process of citizenship. So we should be thinking that. But now coming to the students, I would suggest that all these actions are yet to be played out. I feel that these are actions addressed at a certain MAGA base, and particularly they are not happy with all the actions. Probably Trump might be taking anywhere else, be it war, be it somewhere economically. So now what Trump is, and to put it simple words, is hating the right enemy. So where you hate the right enemy, so that you again get their support back, and then Trump is not singled out Indians or any Indian, but I think the actions speak Indians are most visible. Most I see that Surinder Singh ji is going at in this particular action. His actions are speaking louder than his words. I agree that previous his administrators singled out India, and they made a lot of non parliamentary or unparliamentary language, and some of them are not at all spokeable here. But my simple point here, through these actions, he's restricting the Indian community. But I feel this as his prerogative. He has a right to do that as an American president, and there is a supporting system backing it. And be it tariffs also, and they will play out in their own courts, and then they will struck down, and they'll come up to a point. And if you look at the intellectual base, how they are interpreting it, American intellectuals, they are saying it, okay, these actions are bad, we agree. But they are building a ecosystem around it. For example, tariffs. Now everybody agrees that that is not good for economy, that will create a lot of issues. But there is a base, and there is a system that is creating itself. There is a revenue generation happening. When the next president comes in, or the next person in charge comes in, how does he take away all of that? There is a system already in place. It's very hard. And America also, some of these actions are, he might be appearing mercurial, but they want to take this action, some section of the administrative or some section of the MAGA support base.
All right. Mr. Lali wanted, Mr. Lali wanted to say something to what you have said. Mr. Lali, there's a contributing system is what is backing these changes that Donald Trump is proposing, and they're good for America, he says.
Well,
every country has the right to look after itself, right? Every country has the right to look after itself.
Yeah, Vineet, absolutely do. And but for the record, Mr. Digambar, he called us Indians, quote opens, laptop gangsters, quote close. Not only that, he also called India a hellhole. And I take very strong exception to that, number one. Number two, he can do what he wants to do. It's none of my business. But when you throw the United Nations under the bus, you don't even take your Congress into confidence. You go and attack a country. You tell us where we should be buying our gasoline from, and who should be talking with, and who should be walking with. That is unacceptable. When you start killing Indians on high seas, that is unacceptable. So I don't care what he does. It's his own country. I mean, if somebody wants to ruin his own country, be that as it may. But the point is, he's ruining the global order. I mean, who is on his side? And the only people he seems to be pandering to is MAGA supporters. Unfortunately, if you've ever been to a MAGA rally, it's nothing but a bunch of rednecks and people from the Rust Belt space who can't think beyond a big keg of beer and the football game that evening. So he can do what he wants. But the point is, unfortunately, this gentleman has too much power. He has thrown the entire world under the bus. I mean, what has he done with the war thus far? Look at it. So that is unacceptable to me as an Indian. You know, as they say, my shirt is dear to me. I love America, but my skin is more dear to me because when you attack my country, my skin color, and Vineet, the other problem is the way he's mobilizing and antagonizing his MAGA supporters. They will not be able to see that difference if Mr. Digambar is from Paraguay or the south of America. I mean, when I'm not wearing a turban, I could be from any part of the world. And these idiots who are racist, who don't think through the prism, and everybody has a gun, you know, in their trunk or in their pickup truck. So can you understand Vineet, how insecure he's making even for us Indians, especially where he lives in Texas? A lot of technology guys are there. You know, every time there is an Indian wedding, these white supremacist KKK people come and scream on the roads. And I'm sure Digambar has seen there are enough videos where they're openly criticizing our Hindu temples or idol worship and telling us that Christianity is...
All right, Mr. Lali, I appreciate your passion. And unfortunately, we have run out of time. Thank you, everyone.